Hello, I'm Lolo Puzzlo, and welcome back to Let's Play The Legend of Zelda Randomized. We didn't make much progress in the last video, but hopefully this time we should be able to actually beat more than one level. Now the first thing I want to do is go back to where the blue ring is usually sold in the first quest, because I remember there being someone who sold info, and now that there's dialogue that is actually more helpful, which by the way, if you didn't notice and I accidentally walked back to level 1 because I forgot that's not a shop, if you noticed with the arrow, you can actually use it similar to how the boomerang works, and you can actually use it to collect items, which is somewhat handy, although it kind of is redundant if you use it to pick up a rupee, spend 1 rupee, get 1 rupee, but whatever. Anyway, what I was saying was, where the blue ring's usually sold, there was a guy who was selling info, and with the helpful dialogue, that actually might prove useful. Gleeok returns with the wand. So basically what it's referring to is that the four-headed Gleeok being the boss of level 8 means that level 8 will have the wand. And Aquamentus awaits with the bow. Well, level 1 had the bow, but that was kind of a waste of money because we already did level 1 and got the bow, as you can see in using the silver arrow. Now, the next area I want to explore is actually Death Mountain, which usually you need the stepladder to get to, but there's actually a trick if you know how to navigate the Lost Woods, which I do right here. If you go up, left, down, left, you'll actually go to right around the graveyard, which is where you would normally get the magical sword if you were playing the regular first quest, and I think level 6 in the second quest? Anyway, we have a gambling room, so let's gamble. And I probably shouldn't have done that. I'd say normally it'd be pretty impressive to have a full line of hearts with only having the first piece of the Triforce, but hey, it's a randomizer run. These things happen. Even with the silver arrow, we are in no way yet equipped to go through level 6, because I don't want to go there or even think about going to level 6 without a magical shield. And let's see if we can find the power bracelet. Oh, yep. This run doesn't do this, but in other presets, especially ones that have more randomization than the Dischord preset, that could have actually been a normal dungeon item. This little area right here is an area that you normally wouldn't really have to go to, because I forgot what is here normally, but it's not anything important. But with all the caves being randomized, you need to check every location, and no, you cannot bomb the thing with a candle. Why did you try and do that? And level 2 is a really good dungeon to find. It only has 1 item in it, but it's one of the easiest dungeons in the game. Like almost easier than level 1. Though, granted, with it being the second level, I mean, it'd be kind of odd if it wasn't easy. I mean, this isn't Zelda 2 after all. Although I will say, in certain randomizer presets, once pretty much everything's randomized, level numbers don't really mean anything anymore. Something that's good to know, just in general if you're playing Zelda 1, or especially if you're playing randomizer runs, if you see an item just laying there, you don't need to kill anything in the room to, like, there will never be, like, a secret bonus. But, as you can see right here, killing everything is important because now I have the red ring, which, oddly enough, the level 1 drops and level 2 drops were both what we dropped in level 9. So we are pretty set. The next thing that we probably would need to find, if we could find where the white sword is, or where the magical sword is, but that won't affect us because we don't have enough parts to carry it. We're pretty good. Although one kind of bad thing about finding the red ring early is that it kind of lets you play sloppy, which unfortunately happens to me quite a lot. And even though the silver arrow does the most damage, actually the sword is more convenient to kill the Moldorms because you can actually hit multiple parts of it in one swing rather than just kill one outright with the one silver arrow. One other nice thing about level 2 is it's always pretty quick. Even in the original game it was pretty quick because you didn't really need the magical boomerang that well because it's not really that good of an item because you practically find better things like almost immediately. And the boss is just a Dodongo, so that's easy enough. They're so weak that they're practically regular enemies in later dungeons. Now, there was never really a reason to go into this area in the original first quest, so there's a lot of secrets in this area, but you never really need to go around this area. The area that I'm heading to right now, Death Mountain, or more specifically Spectacle Rock, is where level 9 was originally, so that you definitely have to go to, but that's pretty much the only location in the upper left corner of the map that you absolutely have to go to. But since anything can be anywhere, you really have to know where all the bombable spots are in this segment, because even in certain runs, the wood sword can be found in this area. Anything can be found in this area, so you gotta know every single location that something could spawn in. This isn't even counting the second quest areas, which also it's nice that I got my money back from that -40 earlier in the area that would be level 9, but level 9 seems to have shifted over one. I guess Ganon thought that a good idea to hide it would just be to move it slightly to the left. And this is one of the unfortunate things about things being hidden around here, and it's also one of the reasons why you generally a good idea to kind of avoid this area in the original first quest. There were a lot of door repair rooms, so not only is it bad that you have to waste a bomb, you also have to lose money in the process. The Moblin has a white sword by a lake. That's a nice thing to know, but by a lake is one of the most prominent areas in where things can spawn. So that pretty much says, oh, it can be in one part of the map, or like what could be like half the map. So it's good to know, but it's not exactly pinpoint accurate. Just a little side note about a quirk with this being an NES game. If you notice that the potion keeper, the shopkeeper I guess, his tunic changed colors. That's one thing that happens with not only this game but other NES games. The palette that Link's color is on happens to be the one that not only does certain NPCs share, but also I believe certain enemies in Zelda herself. So Zelda's dress will actually change depending upon what ring you have. Where with it being green if you don't have a ring, and the white kind of thing that unfortunately occurs when you have the blue ring. Well, with us finding that little secret, we have pretty much found all the secrets in this area, so I am going to go and do a soft reset and head back to where you spawn, because that's going to be closer to where I need to go. And right here I noticed that, oh, there's a bombable spot right here that I missed. And I probably should have bombed it, because that puts us actually in the range that, with the fact that the sword hearts are randomized, depending how many hearts you need in order to carry both the white and blue, or white and magical sword, we're actually in the range that if we find the magical sword, we could equip it if the thing be's nice. And I'm not paying that fine. I'm right next to the spawn. No. So there's actually two. It's kind of, unless you really know every spot, there's actually two spots you can burn that are right next to the spawn that I never really knew until I basically went on GameFAQs one day and saw every location where things could be. And also one nice thing about the helpful hints, it actually changes the text and says, rather than saying show this to the old woman, it shows this to the merchant. And speaking of the magical sword, well, there it is, right next to spawn. And no, we unfortunately do not have enough hearts to equip it. It can be anywhere from 10. It's normally 12. It can go all the way from 10 to 14. Also, this area is kind of nice because it has a nice chain of burnable bushes that usually it's a good thing to do, or burn all these bushes once you have the candle, because at least in the original there was a heart container actually in this location right here. There's only a gambling place right here. Well, I didn't get screwed as badly as last time, but still lost. So I think I'm actually even on gambling so far. And I guess from now, I was thinking of soft resetting, but it just feels kind of save scummy in order to do that. I might as well just take the hit. It's not that big of a deal. Also, one nice thing about the red ring is that those sword beams only do like half a heart now. Fire the arrow to locate the wand. Well, it's talking about level 8, but I have no idea what it's referring to. Weird. I know there's not much that I could do about those things since I don't have a magical shield, but yeah, you see what I meant about playing sloppy? Now, I normally feel that the raft is kind of almost pointless in randomizer runs, because basically it would mean that all it does is open up 2 caves, which could both be door repairs for all I know. But it could also be a level, because this was normally level 4, and in this run, it fortunately just happened to be level 3. Now, usually I'd just go hog wild with shooting arrows everywhere, like I'm doing right now, but kind of starting to realize that I don't exactly have the most amount of money, and I really should be saving up to buy a magical shield, because that's going to help later on. That was a complete and utter waste of time. Gliok awaits along the coast is a reference to the fact that level 4 is located on the coast, but we actually knew that from last episode. Now, this room is the best place to describe a weird quirk that Zelda has regarding Darknuts. Darknuts are vulnerable to exactly 3 things in the game. They're vulnerable to the swords, they're vulnerable to the wand, but only the physical part of the wand, and they're vulnerable to bombs. But the way that bombs register is actually kind of weird. Normally, like, if you were fighting a Darknut with a shield, if you were, say, facing up, and the Darknut you were trying to fight was facing down, then its shield would block it. However, bombs actually work the same way. So if you were, say, facing up, and you placed a bomb, and the Darknut was facing down, then the bomb would actually be blocked by its shield. It's very weird, and it's actually kind of caused a lot of confusion, because if you're just playing the normal game and you just want to kill Darknuts with a bomb, you notice that sometimes it seems to not be doing damage, and that's actually what's happening. Because even though you think you're doing damage, because it'll actually do like the animation, if you want to call it that, of being hit, it actually isn't being hit. It's just not taking any damage at all. And the weird thing is that the logic behind whether or not Darknut's going to be hit, it's actually, I guess, destined at the point where you actually lay the bomb. So if you're, say, facing up, but then you move right, then it still counts as if you're facing up. And I believe it's when the bomb actually explodes that determines, like, what, I guess, the game considers what direction the Darknut is facing. And speaking of Darknuts, one weird thing about the randomizer that is sometimes room layouts really do not benefit you at all in terms of Darknut like placement, as in there, where I practically had to just run into it because there is no way I can do anything else about that Darknut. The recorder is actually a very good item to have. Even early game, as 1, it gives you a nice way to flash travel to dungeons you've already beaten, but 2, it opens up one cave where level 7 would normally be, and it lets you fight Dig Doggers, which isn't open up a whole lot of things, but it's still one thing that lets you actually progress, because you might have to kill a Dig Dogger in order to get Triforce. And this definitely is one of those rooms where Dark Nut placement can definitely not benefit you, because this is not a great room to fight Dark Nuts in. Also, one thing I noticed, if I'm standing below, I guess, the top segment of blocks, I can hit, or swing up and hit them, but if I'm above those bottom, I guess, bottom part of the backward C, and I try and swing down, I couldn't hit them. It just seems to be some weird perspective thing. Now, one thing that maybe it's just me, but probably might cause some annoying kind of tendencies, with the sword hearts being randomized, now every time I gain a heart container, I want to see if I can possibly pick up the magical sword, because that will really help me out, because basically I'd be doing 4 times as much damage, which, or at least with the sword, which is definitely would help out. And let's see, can I use it? Yes, I can. So in this run, I could equip the magical sword with 1 less heart than normal. So I got pretty lucky in that sense, but then again, I've also gotten the silver arrow in level 1 and the red ring in level 2, so this seems to be a very lucky run. I usually don't have quite this much luck. Meet the moblin close to the start. That's kind of that would be the equivalent of, there was a old man that would say, meet the old man at the grave, which is a reference to where you find the magical sword. Much like the moblin is close to a lake hint, which it's nice that that actually, gets updated, because meet the old man at the grave means nothing if there be nothing at the grave. I find it quite odd that not only would it have been possible for the white sword to have been shuffled in with the dungeon items, that not only was it not shuffled in with the dungeon items, but it was actually placed in the exact same location it is in the original game. You'd figure that it would be far more probable that it wouldn't than whether it would. And unfortunately, the only thing around this area left to see is what would be in level 5, or at least where level 5 would be normally. It's just a small secret to everybody. Nothing really exciting about that. So, I guess it's time to do a little bit of wandering. Well, now we're more than well enough prepared to do level 5s. If you remember earlier, the thing I was saying about the palette of Link actually changing things, you could see in the whiskers of the Pool's voice that actually they were red. Normally when you'd counter them, they'd either be the green of the normal, like not green. Also, one thing you can tell, I just ran straight into that mummy, or Gimdo. just to get the map, which is one thing you can do. It's really funny getting the Triforce that way. Okay, once I find the stepladder, I am practically golden. With the magical key, that kind of opens things up, and I really don't have to conserve keys anymore, but granted, I never really needed to. I just like to have a whole stockpile of keys. One little trivia thing that I never really knew until actually fairly recently. I always was curious about why the key indicator turned into an A when you got the magical key. Also, you can see that arrows don't pick up, like, special items. Goma creeps at the grave. Okay, so basically that's telling where level 6 is. But we already knew where that was. Anyway, about the A. That actually does mean something. I always thought, like, oh, they just changed it to A just to show that, oh, you have basically not a number of keys. It's actually, according to the Japanese manual of all things, it's actually supposed to stand for Almighty. Lord knows why they said Almighty. Huh? What dropped? Oh. Yeah. Well, the only thing I was missing was the heart container, and, you know, I have the red ring and a fair amount of heart containers. I don't even feel like getting the heart container in there. I'm fine without it. Unfortunately, now I could have burnt... Actually, there is, in retrospect, I realized I could have burnt some, bushes along the way, but I remember that, oh, now that I have all this stuff, I could probably go back into level 8 because I decided to get out of there once I got locked in a room with blue dark nuts. So, right now I'm trying to figure out where level 8 was. Or maybe, if not level 8, then one of the ones that I encountered previously. Now, one of the reasons why I like to do level 8 as soon as I possibly can is because level 8 actually has 2 item drops. If you remember in the original game, it had not only the book, which I don't know why they put that in level 8. It feels completely pointless, but that's just a side thing. It had the book, and it had the magical key. So, there's 2 potential things that could be really helpful, and either of those things could be the stepladder. Unfortunately, with the hints that we've been given, we already know that one of them is going to be the wand, which really would not be helpful at this stage, because the only good thing about finding the wand is if you don't have the magical sword, because all the wand really is good for is a free projectile attack and what is essentially a white sword, because if you can actually hit things with the wand itself, and it acts kind of as a faux white sword. It's actually one of the things that helps out swordless runs, but I will not be doing the swordless runs because I find those to be kind of challenging to the point of making the game not fun. But that's just me. I know people enjoy doing that kind of thing. You know, Goma, I don't think you were meant to be in a room like this. I don't think you should be able to just walk over blocks like that. Just looks weird. Also, even with the silver arrow, it still takes 2 hits to kill this thing. And there's 2 of them in this dungeon. Up, and there's the wand we were told about. It'd be great if I found it earlier, but then again, I found practically everything really good early, so I can't really complain. Aquamentus awaits close to start. Thank you for telling me about level 1 in level 8. Huh. Well, I don't seem to be able to go up because, yep, it's a thing I need a step ladder for. So, I was thinking about it, but then I remembered, oh, I think there's supposed to be a little area to the left here. Which, thankfully, I was right. I do not think that there is a single room layout in this game that I would rather not fight Darkness in. Practically, except for that one little 3x3 area in the middle, all just one single hallway. Just completely irritating. You can tell that boss enemies were really programmed to only be used in one particular room. On Death Mountain is an entrance to death. Well, that's basically saying, oh hey, in level 9, or level 9's in Death Mountain. Great. Oh look, it's the right candle. Yay. Well, I guess since the compass is pointing this room, I guess this kind of acts as our boss room. Actually, this would be more of a boss than practically, well, the good majority of the bosses that are actually in this game. And with this piece of the Triforce, I'd say that we probably made some pretty good progress. We've done 4 levels so far this video, and I think that's a pretty good place to stop. We only have 4 more levels left in the game, and they're pretty short, so I think I could probably knock out the rest of this run in the next video. So who knows whether or not this is going to take 1 or 2 more videos, but it shouldn't take too terribly long. Thank you for watching.